I want to start off today's episode by showing you guys a piece that I composed that was pretty much inspired by today's subject matter, but just everything that's been going on recently with what I see as a war that's being waged against my way of life, against my freedoms, my civil liberties, my right to speak, my right to be politically incorrect if I should so choose, and just everything that's been going on with censorship recently, the pulling of the Dr. Seuss books, the talk now of William Shakespeare being pulled from school curriculums because Shakespeare represents misogyny and racism of the past, and just the whole attack from Gen Z on my generation, the millennials, right now, against our women, telling our women how to dress and things of that nature, the attack against EMINEM. So now music is a target. How long before music starts to get pulled? They're scrutinizing Eminem's lyrics from 2010. And so all these things are very troubling to me, and it saddens me to make this song because many people perceive that Canada is a racist country. Well, I perceive that Canada is becoming a communist country, and it saddens me greatly to make this song because this song is war. The period of freedom, which I've identified between the years of roughly 1980 to 2019, 2020, was truly a time where we had more freedom than we had ever had in human history. And I started with the 80s and going forward because I'm including minority groups and LGBTQ, which, I guess they fully had their rights in 2015 for marriage, but it was about 10 years or 10 or 15 years earlier that was granted in Canada. And so really, it was only for about 40 years that we really truly had freedom. We could do what we want. We could say what we wanted. There was no censorship. There was no, people were able to have opportunity to make money. And before that, for thousands of years, mankind struggled greatly. Men and women struggled. Life was not easy. You had plagues. You had constant wars. You had famines. Life was a struggle. It was never pretty up until of a recent nature. And even if you consider what the average North American made about 100 or 200 years ago, it's about $1 a day. And so we truly, I think, have taken for granted how free we really have been over the last 40 years. And I think it's time for a reality check. And that many people think that we're progressing when we censor the speech of millions of our citizens. Many people think that that's progressing. But to millions of people who are being censored, who have less freedom to speak now, they do have less freedom. That's a reality check for those of you who think that we're just moving forward and being progressive. We're not. How do you square with the millions of people who identify that as a problem? Not just talking about the right to speak or freedom of expression, but also exploring the whole thing with COVID-19. Everybody has to agree that we have way less freedom right now than we did 2 years ago. And of course, a lot of that's because of COVID-19. But COVID-19 is something that they are using to change fundamentally our society. Why is it now that the Canadian government is putting forward new legislation next week that is moving to amend what hate speech laws are? They are also creating a new regulatory body to monitor the internet, to monitor social media. So just like China, or just like any other communist government, we now are setting up a government body that is going to regulate social media. And if you guys didn't know about that, you can just either check the link in my description or you can go check it out for yourself. It's time for a reality check. This has nothing to do with COVID-19. These are fundamental things that they are trying to change. They're giving government more powers. And there's an old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I'm here to tell you today, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm telling you that this is happening. And a lot of people out there, I'm sure, are okay with the government creating a body that's going to monitor social media. They have gone ahead and said that if if these social media platforms do not remove content that is deemed to be hate speech or offensive within 24 hours, they will face thousands and thousands of dollars in fines. What's that going to lead to? That's going to lead to way more monitoring of private citizens. Because if we're in a world where social media is going to be charged within 24 hours, they're going to be pulling things left, right, and center. This is not going to end good. People are going to not be saying what they think. People are going to feel that they're not free. And I'm here today to tell you guys that this is happening. Okay? So creating this body that they're going to use to regulate social media, and they're using the excuse of is to stop hate, is to stop the rise in hate. Well, you know, anybody watching this video out there, I want you guys to tell me, where is this hate? Have you seen these hateful videos, these racist videos, Canada? Have you seen them circulating? I haven't. Me personally, I haven't come across any of them. I don't know of any groups that are outright hateful and spreading online hate and spreading racism against groups. Me personally, I don't see it. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. Maybe I'm gullible. But have any of you seen these things out there? That's my question. So if we have this huge problem that is going to need a government body to be created to monitor social media, we're going to have a whole team of people who are dedicated, it's their job, to watch you. That's not okay. That is not okay, Canada. You know who it's easy to have this conversation with? You know who really, really gets this? Immigrants. I have no problem having this conversation with immigrants. I talk to them all the time, even at work. And they understand what's happening. And they're very concerned because they come from countries that have lived under an oppressive government. They know what communism looks like. But to have this conversation with my Canadian friends is very difficult. Very difficult. Because you assume that the government always has your best interests at heart. So creating a large government body that has people dedicated to monitoring social media and everything that everybody says is not a big deal because you think that the government is perfect. The government will always have your best interests at heart. And that the people who are monitoring these things are perfect people. And so they're not prone to error, right? Mankind is inherently evil. That's why we have these systems set up to protect hallmarks of a free society, which is the freedom of speech. Westerners, people who were born here, you have no idea about symbolism. You don't know how important free speech is. It's become a taboo to you. If you want to take away freedoms from anybody, the first thing you want to do is you want to go after the freedom of speech. If you don't have the right to speak or to criticize, or you can actually get in trouble by the law, then you don't have a free society. This new governmental body that will be set up in Canada to monitor social media can and will be used to squash opinions that are unpopular. Guaranteed, 100% that's going to be what happens. Mark my words. And so the next thing I want to talk about is Dr. Seuss being canceled. And of course, this is just absolutely ridiculous to me, as it should be to everybody. But of course, it's not to everybody. Some people actually agree with it. So apparently, if you didn't know, 6 Dr. Seuss books have been pulled from circulation. The sales of those books have gone up now. You know, they used to be a few dollars, and now they're selling for thousands of dollars because I guess people are trying to get their hands on them. They were pulled because it's been said that they depict Orientals in a bad light. The problem with this, of course, is that this opens the door to many things being pulled in literature, including the idea of pulling William Shakespeare. Because, of course, now it's being said that his work was misogynistic and had a lot of racism involved. And so if we're going to start going back hundreds of years, literally the 1500s, and the 40s and the 30s, and we're pulling things from back then, why are we so focused on the past? If you go back then to that world, you're not going to agree with anything anybody says. Why are we trying to erase our history so much? 2 of these books, 2 of the 6 Dr. Seuss books that were pulled were on the children's top 10 list. And so nobody ever had a problem with Dr. Seuss. Even Asian families who I know, who read those books to their children. They've never, ever thought that anything depicted them in a bad light. There's never been, nobody has said this anywhere. Nobody has ever been offended by the works of Dr. Seuss. Now they're talking about the Cat in the Hat. They're taking a look at the Cat in the Hat. They're saying, well, was the Cat in the Hat black? Was he actually black? Guys, this is madness. This is absolute madness. You see, the way that these things work is this. You have to understand how these things work. If you take out Dr. Seuss, then nothing is safe. If you open the door to one thing, everything else under it can be adjusted. Just like if you go for EMINEM, who's basically the top of the rap world, if you can censor EMINEM, then everything underneath is very easy to censor. This is what I want you guys to understand, how symbolism works, how these things work. Okay? There is a group of people who sit down and they brainstorm these things. They come up with these plans. And so if you take out Dr. Seuss first, then everything else will follow. If you take out William Shakespeare first, everything else will follow, because William Shakespeare is part and parcel of Western civilization. And so Western civilization is under assault. And I don't care what any of you out there thinks. It's absolutely under assault, because you can't even name me what it is about Western culture that you're proud of. What is it about Canada that you're proud of? I'm going to give you guys like 10 seconds to think about that. Tell me what it is about Canada that you're proud of, or Western civilization. Okay, I'm going to assume that you guys have thought of maybe one or two things. Okay, and for Canada, what you might say, what I think most of you will say, is that we are a multicultural society, right? Okay. Well, if we are, then why are we being forced to admit that we are inherently racist? Why is it going to Parliament that we have to say that our institutions are racist? The police force is racist, the government is racist, and we've always been racist. Oh, okay. So maybe we aren't proud of the fact that we're multicultural anymore. Okay. I want you guys to understand that over the last 5 to 10 years, people have been brainwashed into believing that we have nothing to be proud of over here. And so if you go for certain things that are the heads of Western civilization, i.e. Shakespeare, and you censor that, then you can censor anything when it comes to literature and Western culture. So that's the first thing. Guys, we can't keep focusing on the past. We can't keep focusing on the mistakes of the past. They're changing the names of schools that belong to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. If you can change a school because Abraham Lincoln wasn't on the good side, then who's safe? Who's safe if good old Abe isn't good? Abraham Lincoln needs to be censored. And he was. They moved to change the names of those schools that had Lincoln's name on it. If he's not safe, no one's safe. No leader is safe. Okay? Understand what is happening. This has nothing to do with COVID-19. Why is there such a vigorous approach right now to censoring people and to pulling these things that are deemed offensive? What is it? Why are we doing this? They have you focused on race and division and class warfare, because those things are part of ushering in communism. You guys need to read up on communism. Read up on these things that were always done whenever it wants to come in. They do race warfare, class warfare, where they talk to you about the 1%. They talk to you about the evils of capitalism. But when communism is instituted, it is the 1% who rules. The 1% are the people at the top who have the money, who have the freedom. And everybody else is subservient. Everybody else is a slave. And so just to bring it back to my whole point here, which is about censorship, we have Dr. Seuss being pulled. We have Shakespeare in the works of being pulled. And, once again, EMINEM. So we're going back to 2010, and they listed some lyrics that he had in the song with Rihanna from 2010. And so this is completely stupid. If we're going to go back to 2010 and some hip-hop lyrics that EMINEM said, and what's the result of that? I understand right now it's just a TikTok video, right, that somebody's put together with their opinion or whatever it is, but it's about more than that. That person's voice was amplified, and other people on social media and outwards, even in the media, report on it and they take positions on it. And then, like I said in the previous 2 episodes, when you want to change policy, the first thing you change is the culture. This is how it works, Canada. Change culture first, then culture becomes law. How much longer will it be before we start hearing things like disturbing the social order, right? The same thing that's said in communist China is that you're disturbing the social order, and so that's why they are censoring you or pulling you, or even worse. How much longer before that type of terminology gets applied to us? That's a reality check. But let me know what you guys think. You agree with what I'm saying? You disagree? Am I just overreacting, or is this actually something that we should be concerned about? Does it worry you? So that's it for today, guys. If you guys like this video and you want to support me, please hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. I do episodes every Thursday. I'll be back on track with Thursdays this coming Thursday. If you want to watch an episode I did on the MPC, you can click this video right here where I make a beat from scratch with you. And if you guys want to see an episode I did for Black History Month, check out this one right here. It's on the Harlem Renaissance. Favorite of a lot of people, I must say. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. I'll see you next Thursday. Peace.